Guys, and welcome to another live swing trade. Actually capturing this a little bit late, actually the next day. I recorded the intro to this yesterday and then found out that the microphone was muted. So essentially we had a entry here, and I'll highlight here on the 15-minute chart. So at the close of yesterday, just kind of around this area, essentially, again, I want this to be more about the process than anything else. So if we go through, we can see the SPY is still insanely strong, right? Again, you guys know for a short-term moving average, I use the 8 EMA, just as a simple guide. And we haven't broken below that even very short-term moving average since, pretty much the beginning of October. So really, I've got a couple shorts going just because, we're getting slightly long in the tooth, and I think we might not, necessarily pull back, but might chill out for a little bit. But this one in particular is a long on FND. So if I zoom out here, essentially what I'm looking for is we had a big kind of rounded bottom here with a low and then a potential higher low getting built here. And then we have this kind of descending wedge type pattern. And again, you guys know how I love these types of patterns of a way to buy pullbacks on what's a strong stock. So this pullback actually came right down to the 200-day moving average, which is right here, after this interesting move on gap or on earnings. We gapped down quite a bit and then just rallied up all day. So anybody who was short in through here got kind of killed. Anybody who was then long and sold out basically saw that, they sold out at the lows. So that kind of gets frustrating and sometimes causes, a big strong push in the other way. And then we had this low volume pullback. The actual entry was because of this doji that we put right on the 200-day, which we know dojis can often statistically act as short-term reversal points, right? Not necessarily super long ones. But then we had a gap down below that doji and then a strong push up all day. So we had an engulfing candle next to the doji. And you guys know how I'm a love of candlestick analysis. Again, I don't think anything has a magic bullet, but I can take things like this and I can test them and I can come up with a statistical edge. And then from there, I can narrow it down. So I can look at it and say, okay, it's showing me what I kind of want to see. And at the same time, it's at this 200-day. It's a very strong stock. The market's strong. So I can add the context to the trade myself. So stop, you can see the stop line here is actually just right under the low of yesterday. So it's a very tight stop. We're in at 43.40, and the stop's about a dollar and a half away on these 300 shares. So then target, if we can get back up into this area, that's interesting. Again, as of always, you'll see it about 1 to 2 times 1 to 2 times risk. I will take half off the table. I'll move my stop to break even, and then I'll scale out as we go to try to achieve that 2 times risk that we're always looking for. All-time highs here at $50. It's 7 points away. If we're risking a point, that's a great risk reward. So again, we're in here. Stop is right underneath, and I'll be back the next time something happens. Welcome back to FND. Just exited 1/3 of the position here. We got a nice push up here, kind of right off the bat when we were trading. I actually missed this exit up here, and we took a bit of a pullback, about to our entry, but we never violated it, so I never exited the position. From there, we had this kind of nice 3-day run up. Now that we've broken this high, I was comfortable in selling a third. This actually gets us a fair amount of profit compared to our risk already. With the risk being about 500, we locked in 352 with 2/3 of the position remaining. So the game plan is going to be to see if we can get kind of a push up into the $50-ish area, maybe take another third off there and then trail the rest. So now that we've got some momentum in the favor, the stop is going to be a little bit above break even, just under where that last pullback was. and we will trail behind the short-term moving average like we always do. And if we get a break of that, then I will exit the position. So here we are on the final exit and wrap up for FND. Again, just to summarize the trade, we were just looking at this pullback that had happened here to about the 200-day moving average, and then a bounce off of that. We sold a little bit out kind of in this area to lock in $350. There was 300 shares on this initially, and you can see over here that we got about 1,150 on the last bit. So it was about $1,500 on this trade. So again, as always, we don't just look at that number because that number is completely irrelevant. If someone comes to you and says, I made $1 million on a trade, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? If they risked 10 million, then it's a bad trade. And if they risked 100,000, that's a great trade. So we were risking about $500 on that. So we got about 3 times our risk. And my goal is always over 2. So anything over 2, I am happy. So again, what we were looking for was essentially just a push down and then this kind of base that was occurring here and a break up over that. This trade lasted a fair amount of time here. So the reason for the first exit was just because we locked in that ability to cover our risk, which is, as you guys are seeing, kind of the first thing I do. If I can remove the risk from the trade, it helps me out. Now, I know that if I held the whole position, I would have obviously made much more on all of these trades, but it's taking that little bit of money when it's given to you that kind of allows you to go through and say, okay, now I can look at this more objectively because I'm not really risking anything anymore, barring some sort of news gap down or something, which is completely out of your control. So then what I do is I come up with a trailing strategy. So on this one, essentially the theory was when this trend line broke, I was going to get out, but I was looking at it, and a lot of this happened when I was on vacation here, but at the same time, it was doing a good job of holding this support level. So all I did was I raised my stop loss up under that support level, and if we zoom in here on the 15-minute chart, you can see kind of the line here at 45.18 that I had my stop loss at. And you can see it came down here a couple days ago and then bounced. So that's why I kind of picked that exact area. Yesterday, it just kind of chopped around, and then today it broke down under. So a good trade, obviously could have been better, and I'm always looking to go better. But to be honest, there wasn't really too much I would do differently in this trade. I think I handled that exit pretty well. Again, it's always nice to say I got the top, but you'll never do that. So just try to find what a best exit is, that's something that you can kind of repeat, more often, a logical way that happens. Because if this base continued here, right, and we had just had a bull flag that was happening here and we ended up breaking higher, then I would have been very thankful that I had kind of been more patient with this. So anytime I can make 3 times what I risk on a trade, that's great, because I always assume that I'm going to have a 50-50 win rate and nothing better. So I need to make sure that the risk reward is on your side. And again, that's what I see as the difference between a good trader and a bad trader. Is a bad trader wants to be right all the time, and a good trader just wants to make money. So they're more focused on the risk and reward side of things. So that's it for this trade, and I'll see you guys in the next one.